All right. Good afternoon. Welcome to third grade art. Today's going to be our first lesson for Module 1. And if you are in the class right now watching or visiting the class right now live, you have gotten here by coming through the Zoom meeting links, which is how you get to our Zoom meetings each week. You'll click there as you just did today if you are here, and you're going to click right here to come into my room. Again, you'll know when the times are for your class because those are posted right here in um, the schedule. You also should know by now that weekly modules are posted here in the weekly modules button. This is where you're going to go to watch the video for today's lesson. If you aren't able to attend the lessons live, you'll see those posted here for week of January 11th. Next week's will be posted here. Just below this will also be the lesson for our art make day in a couple of days when we actually make the art. And when you're ready to enter your module, you're going to come click enter module 1, just like we're going to do right now. So module 1 is all about keeping us safe as we make art, learning how to take care of the space around us and that sort of thing, as well as how we create and respond to art appropriately. It takes time for artists to make their artwork. Just think about how hard you work to create your masterpieces. Museums are places where artwork can be kept safe so that people around the world, including yourself, can go look at them for years to come. Let me make that larger. All right. All right. This painting is great. I wonder what it feels like. Should they be touching it, you think? Don't touch the painting, says Cassette Color. Why not? Laureline asked. Well, because artwork should be respected. If we don't touch an artwork, it'll stay in good condition for many years to come. I understand, says Laureline. When I practice my drawings, I like it when people respect my artwork. How do you start your artwork? Asks Cassette Color. Well, I start by making lines on paper, Laureline says. Cassette Color says, did you know that all artwork starts with lines? Laureline says, that's neat. All right. So what are we going to learn in this lesson? First of all, we're going to be able to recognize the differences between those correct and incorrect behaviors when we go look at art in an art gallery or even for that matter online. What are the things we should say and not say? What are the things that we should do and not do? We're going to think about how we show respect through our thoughts, and respecting cultures, respecting the artworks. We're going to use identify and use correct vocabulary. We're going to develop good qualities of craftsmanship. In other words, we want to make things that are high quality, that look good, and that would last for a long time versus just trying to make things as quickly and easily as we can. We're going to identify how a line is used in art, how artists use different types of lines in their artwork. We're going to look at different types of media or different types of art tools that you can use to make art with. We're going to look at how we use those safely and correctly. We're going to look at two-dimensional types of art. We're going to identify some of those principles of design and how artists use those principles of design and how you're going to use them in your artwork. You're going to follow directions as you complete artwork and use some patience. Patience is so important when we're creating art. You're going to write some of your ideas down and express yourself through your artwork. You're going to identify personal ideas or emotions that you might express through your art. We're going to look at different resources that might inspire us and create some artwork that meets a particular objective. And finally, we're going to learn to critique the art and look at how we identify what the artists have used, what type of elements and principles, identify how they've used them, why they've used them, and the way they've used them, and so forth. Every time we look at a module, we're going to divide that module up into 3 sections and take it over the course of 3 weeks. Today, because this is about 26 pages long, we're going to look at about 8 or 9 pages today, and then we'll look at about 8 or 9 more next week and finish up the 3rd week. So today we're going to talk about lines. Lines can be found all around you. Check out the vertical lines on this shirt. Can you draw a line using pencil, pens, chalk, or a paintbrush? Make it straight, wavy, or zigzag? Make a line, my friends. We got a lot of work to do. So first of all, let's identify some of the lines that we see being used. This is a painting by Kandinsky that has many different types of line in it. Well, let's work together to see how many types of line we can identify in this colorful painting. So we see several being used there, right? This is watercolor and pen on paper. And let's look at some of these different lines that are being used. This has got dotted lines being used in it. Let's see here. This has got, let's see, click the button here. We've got lots of diagonal lines going from top to bottom in different angles. We've got lots of different types of curved lines going on there. We can see that he's used thick lines and thin lines. Oh, I've gotten ahead there. Thin lines. There we go. These thin lines, and you can see when we used thin lines and thick lines and medium lines, what's called variety. Variety is using different types of an element. Straight lines being used here in addition to those curved lines. Parallel lines are lines that run right next to each other, side by side. And there are dash lines and zigzag lines. Dash lines are like little dots, like you might see going down the middle of the road. Zigzag lines dart back and forth or up and down, run one direction, then dart back in a different direction. Safe Studio. So this is where we're going to talk about how we can create artwork in a space that is clean and safe. Welcome to the Art Studio. An art studio is a place where you can make art. Artists spend their lives creating art, and it means a lot to them. When you're in a museum or studio, there's right and wrong ways to interact with art. Oh man, it's time for the safety lecture. After a few close calls I had last year, I guess I should probably listen a little closer this time. Well, that's great. Let's take a look. So use the correct materials. Use the proper materials when creating your artwork. It's very important. When you're creating a paint, you should be using a paintbrush. Meet me in the museum. Now that you've learned safety behaviors in an art studio, you're ready to enter the art gallery. I'm Ava, and I'll be around to teach you everything you need to know about art galleries and museums. Let's start the fun. Select each bubble to learn more about the correct behaviors while we visit the art museum or gallery. So how can we protect the artwork? Well, protecting the artwork in museums and art galleries is very important. Keep your hands to yourself. Don't touch that artwork. The oils in your hands can get on them and cause them to get dirty and collect dust and dirt. It's time to take a look at each work carefully so you can also take notes. Remember how each artwork looked. What if we don't want to miss out on something? Well, when visiting an art gallery museum, always stay with your group. You don't want to lose your way or miss any great artworks. Staying with your group will also allow you to ask questions of whoever your guide is. You should feel free to share your thoughts. Be comfortable talking about the artwork you see. This is how you're going to learn, for goodness sakes. All art galleries and museums, and in all art galleries and museums, other people are learning about the artworks too. So use your inside voice. Talk about the artworks respectfully to those people around you. So spotting behaviors. This is where we're going to look and see if we can identify what's right and what's wrong. Learning art gallery and museum behaviors can be boring and bland. But causing us seeing these locations will cause a situation that's bland. I love that. Getting the opportunity to visit an art gallery museum is one that should be taken seriously. After all, you get the chance to see some artwork from the world's best artists. Using what you know about the correct behaviors, identify which of these students is doing it right and which one of them doing it wrong. Let's take a look here. As we look at this image here, I'm gonna see if I can't get the whole thing. There we go. As we look at this image, we're going to take a look at these different behaviors. Let's start up here. What's going on here? This is a correct behavior. The photography is sometimes allowed in museums. You're allowed to take pictures sometimes, but you should never use a flash on the artwork. Look for signs and so forth that tell you whether or not you should be taking pictures before you do so. See, this one says don't take a picture here, but this one says you can take a picture. What are they doing here? Should they even have food and beverages in it? It's a juice box. What's going on? Incorrect behavior. Food, snacks, and chewing gum are not allowed inside art galleries or museums. Bringing food into a gallery or museum puts the artwork at risk of being damaged. Don't ever do that. This young man is scratching his chin as he's looking at this piece. Now he's a safe distance away. Let's see what they say. That's correct behavior. Take your time and look at the artwork. Be sure to look for the elements and art principles that you see being used. Is he going to touch that? It looks like he's about to touch that. What's going on? Incorrect behavior. Running instead of walking is never acceptable in the art museum. Always be sure to stay with your group and walk in between the exhibits. You see what he's doing there? He's leaving his group. This is his group. He's going away, and his hand looks suspiciously close to that piece, like he's going to touch it. All bad. This student is yelling, "Pick me." We can tell by the exclamation point that they're probably saying it loudly, not using that indoor voice. Incorrect behavior. Instead of yelling at your museum or gallery guide, always raise your hand and wait patiently to be called on. What about this student? That's correct behavior. They're staying with the group in the gallery. They're not wandering off, and they're not missing anything important. They're right there next to the guide where they can ask questions about this really neat work of art they're looking at. You need to learn to respect your art. By following the correct art behaviors in art studios, galleries, and museums, you're going to be able to show respect to the artwork that's made by other artists. You're also going to be able to show respect to that museum and gallery and to the guide, other people in that museum. When you create your own artwork, however, it's equally important that you respect yourself. Let's take a closer look at how you can respect yourself, respect your artwork, and your peers when you are making artwork on your own. So let's remember respect. RESPCT. I think there's a song about that. Find out what it means to me. Well, to us it means R means remembering. It means don't forget to clean up after your projects. E means effort. Do your best. We talk about that quality. We want to make stuff that looks good. Safety. Use your tools properly. Keep yourself and the people around you safe. Practice. Everyone needs practice. They say practice makes perfect, but that's not true. Practice makes you do the same thing over and over again. If you practice poorly, you're going to do the same thing over again poorly. So always make sure when you're practicing the right way to use things. The other E stands for explaining. The better you can explain the techniques you're using, the more confident you'll be with them. The C stands for critique and compliments. Give constructive criticism and compliments to each other when they ask about the artwork. So find ways to say, "Man, that's a great work of art. These are the things I like about it." If there's something you think the artwork needs, find constructive ways to say that. Which means if you think the artwork would look better with a bigger element in it, you might say that I really like the artwork. I like it even more if that element were bigger because it's so cool and awesome. That's constructive. Trust is what the T stands for. Trust in your creativity and trust in the feedback from others. So now we're getting close to that part where we're going to stop for today, and we're going to talk about the studio time. When we come back in 2 days for the art making day, we're going to make the artwork here in the studio. You don't have to line up for this activity. Instead, you have to use what you know about different kinds of line to complete 3 tasks using an interactive sketchbook. And we're going to start and look at ahead of sort of what this is going to entail. But we're going to do this again in class in 2 days during the make day, okay? So we're going to do this using the computer like they've asked you to do here, using the glue bottle to draw with. But I'm going to also suggest that if you have paper and glue at home, that you can do this same project at home using real materials that you have instead of using the computer. However, I will always say I always will accept anything you make on the computer. It's a cool way to make a lot of art, but it's also an easy way to avoid having to go out and purchase materials. So, this is what we're going to do in class in 2 days. I look forward to seeing you here for the Make Day, where we'll start right here on the studio time, and we'll look at the second part of the module next week. All right, guys, thanks for coming. The next thing we got to do is take a look at our attendance question answer of the week. Every week there's going to be an attendance answer question, and I mean attendance question, and that's going to be asking you the name of an artist. Today's answer is Sir Lawrence Alma Tadema. I'm going to leave this up here so you can write that down. Sir Lawrence Alma Tadema. So Lawrence Alma Tadema was a Dutch painter of British citizenship. He was born in the Netherlands and trained at the Royal Academy in Antwerp, Belgium. He settled in England in 1870 and spent the rest of his life there. He's one of my favorite artists. I've actually done a recreation of this very painting that we see from him here. And one of the cool things that he did was he mostly painted in his studio. Now, you would look at this and assume this was painted outside because she obviously has a lot of bright light coming from above, like the sun. Well, the way that Amatadima created these beautiful spaces in his studio, now he didn't have obviously that whole background. That's sort of something he kind of created and invented. But the woman and very likely whatever she was leaning over is in his studio. The way he worked was he had a roof, or the ceiling of his studio was made of tin, and tin is a very reflective, sort of silver-like metal. And so when he would project light up at the ceiling would then reflect that light back down very intensely, much like the sun. So he's able to get this beautiful light. Again, the attendance answer question today is Sir Lawrence Alma Tadema. Guys, thanks so much. I look forward to seeing you in class for our Make Day.